Have you ever wondered why some people stay calm and determined even when life gets tough, while others fall apart at the first sign of trouble? What if your greatest strength isn't talent, luck, or knowledge, but the way your mind handles difficulty? And what if 10 everyday habits you barely notice are secretly draining your mental power, one silent thought at a time? Having a strong mind isn't just helpful, it's essential to how well you live, grow, and succeed in life. It's like having an invisible power source inside you, one that keeps you going when the world gets overwhelming, when others give up, or when your skills alone just aren't enough. Mental strength is what allows you to face problems head-on, stay committed to your goals, and keep showing up even when the path ahead seems uncertain. It's that steady force that keeps your inner light from flickering out when storms roll in. In this video, we'll explore the powerful connection between Buddhist wisdom and mental strength. Specifically, we'll uncover 10 common habits that slowly weaken your mind, and how Buddhist teachings can help you recognize, challenge, and let go of them. Once we begin to apply these ancient insights, we can slowly reshape how our mind reacts to life's pressures, becoming more resilient, more focused, and more at peace. Let's begin with the very first habit that weakens the mind. Habit 1. Living with a negative mindset. A negative mindset is like a dark cloud that follows you everywhere, blocking out the light of happiness from within. It doesn't just affect your mood, it changes the way you see everything. Even joyful moments lose their color, and every opportunity starts to look like a trap. Think of it like putting on dark-tinted glasses. You forget that the world is actually brighter than it seems. When negativity becomes a habit, your mind begins to assume the worst. You convince yourself that things won't improve, that success isn't possible, that happiness is just for others. And here's the real danger. The more you think this way, the more you believe it. Your thoughts become your reality. You hesitate to try new things, avoid risks, and slowly shrink your life out of fear of failure. This mindset builds invisible walls around you, and before you know it, you're living inside a prison of your own thoughts. But Buddhism offers a gentle way out. One of the most powerful teachings is mindfulness, the practice of observing your thoughts without being controlled by them. Instead of letting negative thoughts spiral, mindfulness helps you pause, notice, and say, that's just a thought. This small shift gives you space to choose a different response. It's like opening a window and letting fresh air in. Another key practice is metta, or loving kindness meditation. This involves sending warm, compassionate thoughts first to yourself, then to others. Over time, it softens the hard edges of negativity. You start to treat your own mind with kindness, and that changes the way you see the world. And don't forget the Buddhist truth of impermanence. Everything changes. Bad moods pass, hard times end. Even the darkest night eventually turns into dawn. When we understand that nothing lasts forever, not even suffering, we stop clinging to sadness as if it defines us. By practicing mindfulness, loving kindness, and remembering impermanence, we gently sweep away the clouds and let our inner sun shine again. Our mind becomes stronger, clearer, and more open to joy. Habit 2. Complaining about things you can't control. Now let's move to the second habit that quietly eats away at mental strength. Constantly complaining about what's outside your control. Complaining may feel satisfying in the moment, but in reality, it's like gripping a hot coal. The more tightly you hold on, the more it burns you. It doesn't fix the problem, it just focuses your energy on what's wrong instead of what's possible. You get stuck in a loop, going over the same frustrations again and again, feeling more powerless each time. Buddhism offers clarity here through the idea of impermanence. Everything changes. Circumstances shift, emotions fade, people grow, but when we complain, we often act like the problem is fixed in stone. We forget that this too shall pass. So how do we break the habit? Through acceptance. Acceptance doesn't mean giving up. It means understanding that not everything is under our control. Some things simply are. And when we accept that, we stop wasting energy on resistance and start finding new ways to move forward. It's like learning to dance in the rain instead of wishing the storm would stop. Buddhism also reminds us to focus on what we can do. Imagine you're steering a small boat in a wild ocean. You can't stop the waves, but you can hold the rudder. By shifting our attention to the choices we do have, we go from helpless to empowered. Finally, the act of letting go is deeply healing. Letting go doesn't mean we don't care. It means we stop carrying what we don't need. Just like releasing a balloon into the sky, we feel lighter when we drop the weight of constant complaints. In doing so, we free our minds. We become more grounded, more resilient, and more capable of facing whatever life brings. Habit number 3. Not expressing yourself. Not expressing yourself is like owning a treasure chest full of precious jewels, but never unlocking it. Deep inside, you hold emotions, ideas, and thoughts, unique and valuable. But when they stay bottled up, it's like walking through a dark room with no light switch. Everything feels unclear, confusing, and overwhelming. This habit weakens the mind because it builds silent pressure. Imagine shaking a fizzy drink bottle but never opening it. The gas keeps building until one day it bursts. That burst may come as sudden anxiety, stress, or a feeling of emotional overload. We break down not because of what happened in one moment, but because we've been holding back for too long. According to Buddhist teachings, authentic expression is not just beneficial, it's essential for mental wellness. Buddhism encourages us to live with truth, compassion, and mindfulness, and that includes how we speak and share ourselves. One of the Noble Eightfold Path teachings is right speech, which means expressing ourselves honestly, kindly, and clearly. Imagine every word you speak is like planting a seed. Words spoken with care and intention grow into connection, peace, and trust. When we use our voice wisely, we create bridges instead of barriers. But expression isn't just about spoken words. It's also about being in tune with your thoughts and feelings. That's where mindfulness comes in. Mindfulness is like holding up a mirror to your own mind. It shows you what you're feeling and thinking without judgment. When you're aware of what's going on inside, it becomes easier to express it clearly to others. Sometimes what we need to express isn't verbal at all. Body language, facial expressions, even small gestures, these speak volumes. Crossing your arms, avoiding eye contact, smiling, or leaning in, each sends a message. Becoming aware of these nonverbal cues helps us express ourselves in ways that words alone can't. Buddhism teaches that when we express ourselves authentically, with mindfulness and kindness, we release emotional pressure. We make space for connection, for clarity, for healing. Holding everything in is like sealing a room shut with no fresh air. But when we express, it's like opening the windows, letting the fresh breeze of understanding flow through. By sharing honestly, we free ourselves. And when we do, we also make it easier for others to understand us, connect with us, and respond with compassion. It strengthens not just our own mind, but the relationships around us. That's real resilience, being open, present, and courageous enough to let your truth be known. Habit number 4, blaming others for your problems. Now let's talk about another quiet mental trap. Blaming others for your problems. This habit may feel natural at first. It gives us something or someone to point at. But the cost is high. It's like trying to run a race with a heavy backpack full of rocks. You might keep going, but you'll be slower, more frustrated, and more exhausted than you need to be. Blaming others weakens the mind because it removes your power. Every time we say, "It's their fault," we're handing away control, giving someone else the keys to our happiness or success. It's like sitting in the passenger seat of your own life, hoping someone else will drive the way you want. Buddhism shines a clear light on this through the teaching of karma, the universal law of cause and effect. Our actions, choices, and intentions shape our experiences. When we blame others, we ignore this truth. We pretend as if our current situation has nothing to do with us, as if we're just victims of someone else's decisions. But the truth is, we are always participating in our lives. Even when we're treated unfairly, how we respond is still up to us. And that's where our real power lies. Taking personal responsibility is like becoming the captain of your ship. Yes, the ocean may be rough. Yes, storms may hit. But you still hold the wheel. You decide how to navigate. And the moment you stop blaming and start steering, that's when you begin to reclaim your strength. Another core practice that helps us escape this habit is forgiveness. Forgiveness doesn't mean what someone did was right. It means we're choosing to stop carrying the burden of resentment. It's like putting down that heavy backpack of blame. You immediately feel lighter, freer, more able to move forward. And once again, mindfulness plays a key role. When you're mindful, you notice those moments when the urge to blame arises. Instead of reacting automatically, you pause, you reflect, you ask yourself, what part of this can I change? What can I learn? That shift from reaction to reflection is the moment blame starts to dissolve. The journey from blame to responsibility is powerful. It's like trading those rocks in your backpack for wings. You become lighter, clearer, and more in control of your path. And that clarity builds a mind that's strong, not from perfection, but from awareness and accountability. Habit 5. Fantasizing. Instead of visualizing, fantasizing instead of visualizing is like sketching a magnificent palace high among the clouds, breathtaking to behold, yet doomed to vanish at the lightest breeze. When our minds drift into these airy scenes, we disconnect from the solid ground beneath our feet. It is the mental equivalent of chasing shimmering mirages across a desert plain. With every step, the illusion slips farther away, and thirst for real progress only grows. Buddhism helps us see why this habit leaves the mind weaker and how we can replace it with a healthier, goal-anchored practice. Fantasies spin stories of effortless success and impossible perfection, much like expecting a pot of gold to appear the instant we reach the rainbow's end. They ask nothing of us in the present moment, so the moment slips by unnoticed. Inevitably, reality fails to match these glittering tales, and disappointment moves in where motivation should live. Visualization, by contrast, plants its roots in possibility, while keeping its branches within reach. Picture it as unfolding a treasure map. The X marks a destination you can realistically explore, and the path is drawn with steps your present self can start taking today. In Buddhist terms, this is right intention joined with right action, seeing a wholesome outcome clearly, then walking toward it one mindful choice at a time. Fantasies also lock us into a single, static image of the future, ignoring the Buddhist teaching of impermanence. Life is movement. Waves crest and fall, seasons shift, opportunities appear and fade. Clinging to an unchanging dream is like grasping the shoreline while the tide pulls away. It leaves us stranded, resisting what naturally evolves. Visualization, on the other hand, rides the wave. We keep our eyes on the horizon, yet stay flexible enough to adjust the sail whenever the wind turns. So how do we break free from castles in the air? Mindfulness is the lantern that lets us spot when thought drifts from constructive imagining into idle fantasy. With that light, we gently return to the present, refining our picture until it rests on realistic foundations. We savor the sights, sounds, and textures of now, even as we plot the next waypoint on the map. Step by step, the distance between imagination and achievement begins to shrink. By weaving impermanence, right intention, and mindfulness into everyday life, we swap illusion for inspiration. Visualization becomes a trustworthy ally, helping us transform inner pictures into outward progress and guiding us through life's shifting landscape with steadiness and purpose. Habit 6. Not making time for personal relationships. Neglecting personal relationships is like owning a sunlit garden, yet never lifting the watering can. At first, the roses merely droop, but soon the entire plot grows brittle, colorless, and bare. People, like plants, are living networks that thrive on shared light, warmth, and care. When we cut ourselves off, we may still move forward, but it is the lonely crawl of a becalmed boat, sails slack, no friendly breeze in sight. Buddhism sheds gentle light on why this habit weakens the mind and how the simple gift of time revives what seems to be fading. Imagine a welcoming house with its door left closed. The hearth inside still glows, yet without visitors its warmth is wasted. When we skip birthdays, ignore messages, or rush through dinner looking at our phones, we close that door and the weeds of distance begin to sprout: misunderstandings, hurt feelings, quiet resentments. 1. Presence, sunshine for the soul. Buddhist mindfulness invites us to be fully present, because true presence is to a relationship what steady sunlight is to a seedling. It coaxes hidden potential into bloom. A half-listening nod cannot nourish like full attention does. So when you sit with a friend or child, let your thoughts settle, meet their eyes, speak and listen without hurry. Each minute is a sip of clear water to thirsty roots. 2. Communication. The wind in the sails. Relationships also need movement. Honest words and attentive listening act like the wind filling a sail, propelling two people forward together. Take time to ask real questions, share genuine feelings, and clarify small confusions before they harden. Every thoughtful conversation is another bucket of water keeping the garden green, another gust of breeze sending the boat toward bright horizons. 3. Impermanence, the precious flavor of time. Buddhism reminds us that every shared moment is finite. Recognizing impermanence is like tasting a ripe mango and knowing its sweetness will soon be gone. You savor more deeply. when we see that friends grow older, children outgrow our lap, and even disagreements cannot last forever. We become naturally motivated to set aside work emails, silence notifications, and offer loved ones the irreplaceable currency of our attention. By weaving presence, open communication, and an appreciation of life's fleeting nature into daily routines, we mend the fraying threads of neglect. The mind, once isolated, is strengthened by laughter, empathy, and the reassuring weight of a hand in ours. Tended relationships become a living support system, a crew ready to trim the sails when storms arise, a lush garden whose fragrance renews our own spirit. Habit 7. Letting your emotions rule you. In the previous part, we saw how investing in relationships brings strength and warmth to our lives, but even with strong connections, one inner force can still pull us off course: our emotions. When they take the wheel, clarity vanishes, and we're no longer steering our own journey. Letting emotions rule us is like being caught in a raging river without a paddle. We're not swimming. We're being swept away, dragged wherever the current wants to go. Our ability to choose, to reflect, to respond wisely disappears beneath waves of anger, fear, sadness, or even excitement. And just like a storm without a compass, intense emotions without awareness leave us directionless, vulnerable, and mentally drained. Buddhism teaches that this habit weakens us because it removes the anchor of mindfulness, the practice of observing our emotions instead of becoming them. When emotions rule unchecked, we react impulsively. We say things we later regret. We make poor decisions. We burn bridges or isolate ourselves. Imagine a ship on a turbulent sea, spinning wildly because no one is holding the wheel. That's the mind when ruled by emotion. But what if we could stand on the riverbank instead of being dragged along by the current? That's exactly what mindfulness allows us to do. It's the ability to watch the storm without being the storm. When we feel overwhelmed, mindfulness gives us a moment of pause, a mental breath that helps us say, "I am feeling anger," instead of, "I am angry." That small shift is powerful. It's the difference between sinking and floating. Emotional intelligence, a key idea supported by Buddhist practice, is like having a compass in that storm. It helps us recognize what we're feeling, understand where it comes from, and guide our actions accordingly. Instead of being pulled in 5 directions by fleeting emotions, we begin to steer. We can feel sadness without shutting down. We can feel anger without lashing out. We can feel joy without clinging too tightly. This emotional balance also allows us to empathize with others. When we understand our own emotional landscape, we become better at reading and respecting what others feel too. It's like learning not only to navigate your own ship, but also to recognize the signals of others sailing beside you. The ocean of human emotion becomes less frightening and more familiar. Buddhism also offers a beautiful tool to soften intense emotions: loving kindness meditation, or metta. Practicing metta is like planting seeds of compassion in our minds and hearts. With time and care, those seeds grow into calm responses, gentle thoughts, and a natural kindness toward ourselves and others. Instead of judging our emotions or reacting harshly, we meet them with care, acknowledging they're human, they're temporary, and they're not all of who we are. Mindfulness, emotional intelligence, and compassion together create a strong vessel, one that stays afloat even in life's emotional storms. These tools help us observe our feelings without drowning in them and to respond instead of react. We become captains of our inner ship again, not controlled by emotion, but guided by awareness. Breaking free from this habit doesn't mean suppressing emotion. It means building the skill to hold emotion with wisdom, like a sailor who reads the wind and adjusts the sail. We don't stop feeling, but we stop letting those feelings control where we go. Habit 8. Trying to control everything. Trying to control everything is like stepping onto a stage and attempting to direct every flicker of light, every gust of air, even the heartbeat of the audience. It's exhausting, impossible, and sooner or later, all those spotlights you're juggling crash to the floor. The result? Frustration, tension, and a deep sense of failure, because catching the wind with bare hands simply cannot be done. Buddhism meets this struggle with the teaching of non-attachment. Imagine realizing you can't grasp a cloud. No matter how tightly you squeeze, vapor slips through your fingers. In the same way, events, people, and even your own plans constantly shift. When we cling to the illusion of total control, we end up like someone trying to cup water. It drips away, leaving palms aching but empty. Surrendering control sounds passive, yet it's surprisingly empowering. Think of gardening. You can till the soil, plant seeds, and water consistently, but you cannot dictate sunshine or rain. Nature still writes part of the story. When we accept these limits, we uncoil the fist and feel a sudden lightness, as if unclenching has released an unseen weight. Here, mindfulness acts as a steady anchor. Each time your thoughts race to micromanage the uncontrollable, mindfulness calls you back to the single square of ground under your feet. What can I influence right now? By investing energy only where it matters, your intentions, your actions, you sail through uncertainty with surprising grace, like a captain who trims the sails instead of cursing the storm. Buddhism even frames this paradox beautifully. The moment you loosen your grip, you gain true power. Opening your hands is like raising a sail. The very wind you once tried to capture now fills the canvas and propels you forward. By releasing the need to choreograph every detail, you gain the freedom and resilience to dance with whatever life delivers. Habit 9. Dwelling on the past. If trying to control everything chains us to the future, dwelling on the past shackles us to what's already gone. Picture carrying a backpack crammed with old journals, faded photographs, and broken souvenirs. Each step grows heavier. The landscape ahead blurs because your gaze is fixed on yesterday's shadows. Driving a car while staring only into the rear-view mirror. Sooner or later, you miss the curve and veer off the road. Buddhism counters this habit with mindfulness of the present moment. Opening the windows of awareness is like letting fresh air sweep through a musty room. Stale memories disperse, and space appears for new sights, new scents, new possibilities. When we stop replaying yesterday's scenes, we discover today's stage, alive, unscripted, waiting. But letting go isn't always simple. The mind clings to old wounds as though the bandage were still needed. That is why forgiveness stands at the heart of Buddhist practice, offered to others and, crucially, to ourselves. Imagine unlatching a door and allowing pain to step outside. The room suddenly feels brighter, wider. Forgiveness does not erase the past, yet it releases its stranglehold, turning heavy regret into a lesson rather than a life sentence. Just as important is the reminder of impermanence. A river never carries the same water twice. Trying to freeze it robs it of its beauty and vitality. Acknowledging that every joy and sorrow flows onward frees the heart from trying to halt the current. We can watch memories drift by like leaves on the surface, noticed, respected, then allowed to move on. Finally, Buddhism invites self-compassion. Speak to yourself as you would to a dear friend who has stumbled. Kindness dissolves the inner critic, unlocking the cell door of guilt. Suddenly, the backpack feels lighter. Some items are gently removed, examined, and set down. The past remains a teacher, but no longer the jailer of your potential. In weaving mindfulness, forgiveness, impermanence, and self-compassion into daily life, we trade that burdened backpack for a small traveler's pouch. Just enough memories to guide us, never enough to weigh us down. We step into the sunlight of the present moment, unencumbered and alert to the road unfolding before us. Habit 10. Worrying about what others say and do. We've just freed ourselves from the chains of the past and embraced the power of the present. But there's one last habit that can still quietly weaken the mind day by day. Worrying too much about what other people think, say, or do. Worrying about others' opinions is like carrying a backpack full of stones that don't belong to you, each one marked with someone else's comment, glance, or judgment. Over time, that weight crushes your natural confidence and clouds your ability to think clearly. The more we carry, the heavier it gets, and the less we're able to walk our own path. This habit makes us mentally weak because it anchors our self-worth to something beyond our control, the constantly shifting views of others. It's like sailing a boat and letting the passing wind decide where you go. One moment you feel lifted by praise, the next you sink under criticism. There's no stability, only reaction. Buddhism offers a path to freedom through the practice of equanimity, the ability to remain steady in the face of praise or blame, approval or disapproval. Equanimity is like standing on solid ground while storm winds swirl around you. You feel them, yes, but you are not uprooted. You remain calm, centered, and grounded. When we let others' words define us, it's like building our self-image out of glass, fragile, reflective, and vulnerable to every touch. But when we cultivate equanimity, we build with stone, solid, unshakable, rooted in who we are, not what others see. Another powerful tool is authenticity. Buddhism teaches that trying to gain constant approval is like wearing clothes that don't fit. No matter how good they look on someone else, they'll always feel wrong on you. When we act from our true nature, we shed the need to impress or conform, and we begin to live with a quiet confidence that radiates from within. Mindfulness, too, plays a key role. Imagine your thoughts are a maze, twisting and turning with imagined opinions and judgments. Mindfulness is the light that helps you find the way out. When you notice yourself caught in worry, what did they mean by that? Do they like me? Mindfulness invites you to pause, breathe, and come back to the present moment. That simple awareness can dissolve the trap. To truly let go of this habit, we must also cultivate self-love. Self-love is like planting seeds of kindness in our hearts. With care, those seeds grow into deep-rooted self-worth that doesn't need constant watering from others. When you love and accept yourself, criticism loses its sting. Praise doesn't make you arrogant, and judgment doesn't break you. By practicing equanimity, mindfulness, authenticity, and self-love, we loosen the grip of external voices and return to our own. We stop handing others the power to define who we are. Instead, we steer our own ship, guided by our inner compass. If you found this video helpful, we warmly invite you to subscribe to Buddhism Seeds. Click like, share this with someone who needs it, and leave a comment below. What habit spoke to you the most? Your words matter, and your path toward inner strength begins right here.